Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast. Ooh, let's get it going once again from the Sports Buffoons studios. This is Mike Settle here with, once again, Jason JG. How you doing, my man?
What's up, guys? I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope you got a little bit fatter, because I know I did.
Yeah, I feel like we all did to a degree at least. I mean, I went over to see Grandma and had a little bit of stuffing, which was your favorite, number one Thanksgiving food on your list, which is surprising, but I'm not going to lie. Her stuffing has cranberries in there, and so it turned out really good. So I was a big fan of that. But anyways, we are missing Tanner Dawson today once again. He's been out now for 2 weeks. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know, maybe he got the COVID. He's like quarantining or something weird. I don't know, but he's got some solos going on our show, on our podcast. If you follow us along here on Spotify, he has been posting his own individual work here for a minute here, while he also takes care of some things. He's got a lot going on with his family and as well as work-wise as well. But that's all right, guys. We are holding it down for you anyways here over at the Sports Buffoons studios here in Overland Park. So we had a big Chiefs game, didn't we, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had myself over there at Twin Peaks hanging out with a couple buddies, I should say, and it was a great time. I loved watching the statistics just swell up. The Tyreek Hill putting up 13 catches for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then Mahomes putting up over 450 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. It was a beautiful thing to watch, and it was probably the most efficient game downfield passing that I've ever seen out of Patrick Mahomes. And so even if you ask guys like Pro Football Focus, who we should say is not always a good source for information, even those guys put that and ranked it as the number one game of the week for quarterbacks. So we have a lot to talk about today. In particular, coming up here in a few minutes, we're going to play a little game of F, Marry, Kill, but it's for fantasy. We're going to talk a little bit of fantasy football with you guys here in a few minutes, but first and foremost, let's talk about the Chiefs for a bit. Jason, what do you think about that game about the Buccaneers?
So anyways, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
You know, I love that game because from the beginning of the season, I knew, I said to myself, it's going to be Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And I still believe that that's going to happen. But what a great game. I mean, the Chiefs were up 17-0 in the first quarter and ended up 27-24 at the end. But, you know, you went over Tyreek Hill's stats, which are mind-boggling. And what's the most mind-boggling to me is that Tyreek Hill actually had 57 fantasy points in our league. That just blows my mind. That's almost a 60 burger, guys.
Did you also see this, Jason, that Jamal Charles and Tyreek Hill now have the most single game points in the last, I think it was like 7 years of anyone, because Jamal Charles, back when they played the Raiders in 2015, I believe, that was the game where he had like something like 4 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown in that game. So now 2 Chiefs rank in the top of fantasy history.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolute insanity what he's putting up, the numbers he's putting up. I mean, Tyreek Hill is invincible. And, you know, when I look at this game, I think the Bucs defense, they did what they could, right? So they were able to force the Chiefs to punt a few times in the second half. And, you know, when I look at this game, it's just kind of like the Bucs, they don't match up very well with the Chiefs, but who does? I mean, nobody's going to match up very good with the Chiefs. The Bucs defense, you know, they look terrible in the first half. Now, I love to see the Chiefs get off to a fast start in these games, and I prefer that over what we saw last year, particularly in the playoffs. You know, we had all those games and even the Super Bowl where the Chiefs, they fall behind and then they have a comeback victory. And it's not like I'm going to complain about that, but I think that Patrick Mahomes, you know, now that he's got one more year under his belt, he's figuring out a way to find that rhythm a little bit earlier in the game. And And that's the one thing that I really love. And I think Patrick Mahomes looks better this year. And I've said this from the beginning. Mahomes is going to get better every single year. I mean, we haven't even seen this guy's prime yet. Can you imagine that?
It's
And
absolutely
the numbers
ridiculous.
that he's putting up.
Have you seen?
We haven't even seen his prime. That blows my mind.
The last 4 weeks of Patrick Mahomes' career at this point, every single week had over 30 completions, and every single week he had. Okay, so let's put it back to the Jets game going back. Obviously, the Jets are a joke of a team, but in that game in particular, he had 416 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 372 yards passing against Carolina, 348 against the Raiders, and then 462 against the Buccaneers. So those last 4 weeks in particular, these are just absurd numbers, and it's getting out of control. He had 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 2 and 3. Add those all up, and then I'm not good at math, but I think that's like 14 and 1 interception. So that's a pretty remarkable standard right there that he's setting for himself, and he's actually on pace to hit 5,000 yards passing.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely absurd numbers, and I'm sure a lot of people are out there looking at the final score saying, "Oh, the Chiefs only won by 3 points." Well, Tampa Bay, I still believe, is a really good defense in the league, and so I mean, for Mahomes to be able to do that against the Bucs, I mean, we shouldn't expect him to win that game by 10 points or 14 points or whatever. But like I said, I still have Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. The Packers, Saints, Seahawks, and Rams are going to have something to say about that. But I still firmly believe that this is a Super Bowl preview.
Yeah, it very well could be. And even though the Chiefs had the edge in the very beginning of the game, we saw Tom Brady definitely putting his best foot out there towards the end of the game, making his mark well known that he can still be a comeback king. The difference was, almost like we've seen when Patrick Mahomes loses, it's because his defense didn't give him a chance to get back on the field again. The offense ended up, for the Chiefs anyways, just controlling the clock, running out the clock, converting first downs. So Brady had to be forced to sit on the sideline and not get a chance again to come back in the game. Because if he did, I'll be honest, I think he would have given us a good shot to go to overtime at least. And that reminds me a lot of the ways Patrick Mahomes has lost in the times of his career, or the few times he has lost, I should say. So we had a couple of great ones there, and that's definitely a Super Bowl preview potential going forward. Even though with the Buccaneers now, they're sitting at, I think, is it 6-5, or are we sitting at 7?
Yeah, I think they've got 5 losses.
5 losses. Yeah. So.
But it doesn't matter in the NFC because
correct.
there's
NFC's wide open still.
Yeah, it's totally wide open.
Obviously, you got the Packers in there, Seahawks, Cardinals are in there, all those kind of teams. But so we might see the Buccaneers again. We will give it some time and see through the playoffs and see how things play out. But that was a fun game, good challenge. And a game coming up for the Chiefs, obviously, this weekend, Sunday Night Football, which I'm trying to get myself hyped for this, but we just saw the Broncos go a whole game, completing I think 2 passes or 1 pass the entire game. And I know it had to do with their quarterback situation where they had to go into a game where they had no quarterbacks whatsoever that were active for this game. They actually had to pull a practice squad wide receiver up and let him play quarterback for a bit. And it was ugly. It was just as ugly as I thought it was. The Saints mauled them. The Saints with Taysom Hill destroyed them. And the Saints defense put up a great spot as well. In this game now going forward, obviously, we ended up finding out the Broncos locker room is okay, and they will be playing, the quarterbacks will be playing, I should say, in this game coming up against the Kansas City Chiefs. So with that being said, the Chiefs-Broncos game matchup, is there anything here that stands out to you as far as that game goes, or are we just going to walk in there and just destroy them like normal?
Yeah, nothing really stands out to me other than the fact that the Broncos will not be starting Kendall Hinton, the wide receiver, as their quarterback. One thing to note is that Phillip Lindsay, the running back, has a bum knee for the Broncos, and he may or may not play. And so if this guy doesn't play, I'm certainly not worried about Melvin Gordon III. I mean, that guy is probably still drunk from when he got that DUI about a month and a half ago. But, the thing I'll say about Denver, they look decent with their defense because they had 3 sacks against Taysom Hill last week. And I think it was about 10 of the Saints' points, 10 of their 31 points came directly off of Denver turnovers. So the Denver defense was actually okay in that game. I do not expect the Chiefs to cover the 14 points. I know they covered that gigantic point spread against the Jets a few weeks ago. I don't think that's going to happen this time. The Chiefs have won their last 3 games by a total of 9 points. So I like the bet on Denver here. Chiefs are minus 14. And, the Chiefs, I could still see them winning by 10 points. But if you're going to make a bet here, I'm going to go with the Broncos.
Yeah, that's very interesting, actually. And I think this could be a game where we finally give Patrick Mahomes' arm a rest, considering he's been throwing over 40 attempts the last 4 games in a row. This could be a game where I think Le'Veon Bell gets more involved in the ground game, and the Chiefs just kind of, let's not take it too easy on them, but they kind of got to just go out there, do their job, run the ball if we need to. Clyde and Le'Veon can make things work that way. And then from there, look forward to bigger matchups down the road, like going against the Saints in 2 weeks from now. So it's one of those things to look forward to, I guess, going forward. But for Sunday Night Football, it's like, hang out with your buddies, have a few drinks maybe, and just enjoy the game for what it is, because we obviously, as Chiefs fans, we enjoy the game, we care about this team, and even though this could be an easy matchup, Patrick Mahomes is going to go 7-0 against the Denver Broncos for his career. That's going to be very cool to witness, I suppose. And the last time they played, actually, as a matter of fact, I should point this out, earlier in the year, he only threw 23 times for 200 yards and 1 touchdown and no picks. But then again, Chiefs also beat the Broncos 43-16. That tells you one thing: we ran the ball up their ass, and that's going to happen again. So, with all that being said, let's all get a little bit excited, at least for Sunday Night Football with the Chiefs. And from then on, I think we should talk about something a little more fun, something fantasy-wise for all of us, something that we all think about all the time. And we must spice it up a little bit. Your fantasy football season is nearing down the end of the year here. We are going into week 13, and either you're in or you're out. This could be the deal breaker for your season. I am not very happy right now because Derek Carr got me -7 points in my fantasy league, and I lost my game by 4 points. So thank you so much, Derek Carr, for being a Raiders garbage quarterback. So I just needed to vent, Jason. I'm just letting you know that. I just needed to vent for a minute. But otherwise, let's play a little game, for fantasy reasons at least, of F, Marry, Kill, also known as Start, Sit, Cut. So the way we're going to play this game is I'm going to list off 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. And so these guys are all going to be top echelon type of players, obviously. I don't actually suggest to any of you out there listening to actually cut or sit any of these players, but for argument's sake, we're going to pick one above the other, and for different reasons. So to start this all off, I'm going to ask you first, Jason. Let's dig right in. You guys will pick this up as we go. I hope you guys enjoy this segment. So, F, Marry, Kill / Start, Sit, Bench. We have at quarterback Kyler Murray. We have Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. What do you got?
Well, we're definitely going to bang Kyler Murray because he is the hot new quarterback on the block. And, who doesn't like a running quarterback that can score a lot of rushing touchdowns? So we are definitely going to bang Kyler Murray. And I am going to marry Russell Wilson because, this guy has already got a Super Bowl under his belt. And he's in his absolute prime right now, guys. So he's in the best part of his career. So we're going to marry Russell Wilson. We're going to kill Aaron Rodgers. And it's not because of him, but I just don't trust that Green Bay defense. Not that I trust a lot of defenses in the NFC, but just based on, comparing him to the other 2 guys, we're going to kill Aaron Rodgers.
Wow, you are going opposite of me there, it seems like, which is very interesting because for me, I'm looking for Mr. Consistency. When I want to get married, which all of my men out there, my young men, I do not advocate for you guys to get married. But if you do, get married to this man right here. Get married to Aaron Rodgers. Don't kill him. I don't care what Danica Patrick says. Aaron Rodgers is your Mr. Consistency. You know what to expect out of Aaron Rodgers week in, week out. He had 1 bad game against Tampa Bay, which is very funny because that was the game where Mahomes blew up. Rodgers had no touchdowns and 2 interceptions, had -2 points in my league. But otherwise, almost every single other game, at least in my league, he's put up 25 points or more. And so that right there shows me that he's Mr. Consistency. You know what you're going to get out of him. That's the kind of guy I want to marry. Come on. You know what you're going to get. He's making you happy week in, week out, right?
Well, I have a little bit different argument here. So when you're getting married to someone, you want to have balance in your life. And so that's why I chose Russell Wilson, because you get a good passer, but you also get a good running quarterback. So Russell Wilson, he's also got 379 rushing yards. Not as good as Kyler Murray, but much better than Aaron Rodgers. So you got a good balance there. So that's why I'm marrying Russell Wilson.
I get that, but Wilson's also like a little iffy. He has 10 interceptions on the season, which bothers me a little bit, which tells me he's a little flaky at times. And so with that being said, even though I know Rodgers in his past, he's older now, and maybe I'll just like older men. But Aaron Rodgers, at this point in his career, only has 90 yards rushing on the season and 1 touchdown. The old, younger Aaron Rodgers in his 20s was definitely running around a bit more, similar to guys like Alex Smith was, and similar to like how Russell Wilson has also ran as well in that regard. So I get what you're saying, for sure. I guess from there going forward, I will put this way. My F, I should say, or my sit, I should say, is Russell Wilson. So he's my middle ground there, and the only reason I say sit Russell Wilson in this regard is because what he's done for me lately. Lately, the last 3 weeks, he had 6 points, 23 and 16. But before that, he was treating me so well. I mean, before that, he was going down the list, 38, 46. He had 32, 36. Okay, you're going to treat me real nice one day and then treat me like shit the next? Okay, Russell Wilson, you're good for an F. And so in that case, you are my sit. Now, my kill, obviously I'm going with Kyler Murray, only because Kyler Murray's not done quite enough at this point to prove anything to me, other than I do enjoy watching him play quite a bit. Points-wise, he's been great. But he's got 19 touchdowns passing, 9 interceptions, and rushing-wise, which he's great with his legs, which some people are into legs, but that's 650 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. That's impressive for sure. So put that to the mix. And anything to say about that?
Well, I just want to go back to Russell Wilson. Again, the other thing you're looking for in a marriage is trust. So you threw out all these numbers and how much he did for you early in the season, and then he fell off a little bit. You have to have a level of trust in a marriage. And I do believe that Russell Wilson, he's going to start producing again as we get towards the latter part of the season. But Mike, what do you think about these guys if we're ranking them for the MVP at the end of the season? Because, at this point in the season, nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, we think Patrick Mahomes will get the award, but if you had to rank 2, 3, and 4 for the MVP race, how would you go with these 3 guys?
Yeah, let's assume Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP because he deserves it and he should win it, no matter what. And from then on, from your question right there, I still have to go with Aaron Rodgers, the guy I married, mainly because I just trust him and I'm going to get benefits even if we get divorced. And so with that being said, I think that Aaron Rodgers, with his 33 touchdowns passing and 4 interceptions, as well as doing it with, besides Devontae Adams, a very lackluster receiving group, is very impressive. And so that's why I like Aaron Rodgers. He's doing it with less than I think the other ones are. Keep in mind, Kyler Murray has DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk. They got options over there. Larry Fitzgerald's still hanging around over there. Russell Wilson has Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So those guys have good options receiving in right there. And I think Rodgers is just doing better with less than those guys. So give me Rodgers to be the number 2 MVP.
Okay. So, yeah, my list is a little bit different as we're moving away from the banging and the marrying and the killing.
We'll get back there.
If we're just going for the MVP for this year, my list is going to change because I've got Aaron Rodgers as the number 2 guy behind Mahomes to win the MVP. The only reason I don't want to marry him is because he's old, man. He's a little bit past his prime, but I like what he's doing this season.
He's a high-value male in his late 30s. That's right in the prime.
I like what he's doing this season, and I love the fact that he's only got 4 interceptions. So, I would put Aaron Rodgers as number 2 in the MVP race, and then behind him, still got to go with Russell Wilson. And honestly, the only reason I would put Kyler Murray behind those 2 guys is just because he's got something going on with his shoulder. We don't know what it is, but he didn't look right in that last game. And so that's the only reason why I've got him fourth in the MVP race right now.
I got you. Yeah, that's an interesting topic, and it's something we'll have to watch as time goes on to finish off the season. But we got a couple more position groups to go down for our little game here of F, Marry, Kill. Let's jump into running backs real quick. And so there's some sexy names here at the top of the list. We have Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. I like all three of these guys, and keep in mind we are judging this based off PPR. So keep that in mind as we speak about this. And so Dalvin Cook sitting at 248 points right now. Derrick Henry sitting at 220. Alvin Kamara sitting at 263 points right now. Now, from looking at this list of these three guys, I like all of them as players, absolutely. But if I'm going to marry one, give me the consistency of Alvin Kamara, for sure. So I'll take Alvin Kamara. And I know with Drew Brees being out, it's been a little bit down. He will get back. And once Drew Brees is back in the rhythm here, going looks like about week 14, week 15, something like that, then Kamara is back to being a good boy, just like we like him. And then from then, if I'm going to F, I gotta F Dalvin Cook because Dalvin Cook is the hot one, right? So he's got games here that are just nuts. Like, he's hot and cold. I mean, maybe I want to F the hot and cold guy, where it's like 48, 38, and then all of a sudden 14, 23, 9. So he's not Mr. Consistent. He gets me like a little hot and bothered by that. It makes me think he's a bad boy. So I just want to F him, right? And so after that, obviously I'm going to kill off Derrick Henry. As much as I enjoy Derrick Henry, I just, as a PPR guy, and as good as he is on the ground, he's not good enough for me in the air as a PPR to make me excited. So Derrick Henry, you got to go in this one. Give me the guys that can catch passes.
Yeah, so I think it's great that so far we've disagreed on pretty much every player that we've thrown out so far. I am going to marry Derrick Henry because he carries that entire team on his back. And so he's Mr. Dependable. I don't care if you're talking regular season or the playoffs, you can always depend on Derrick Henry, and he's going to get the rock. Now, I am going to bang Alvin Kamara. And the only reason I don't want to marry him is because the Saints, they rely on that stout defense of theirs. And, you know, like after that, I would say I'm going to kill Dalvin Cook. Only reason I'm going to kill him is because of his injury history. Like, he's an absolute stud this year. And so these three guys are like super close. And it was very difficult for me to segregate them. But I had to go with Dalvin Cook, and that was my only reasoning, is because of his injury history, and he could blow a knee in like 3 weeks, and we wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We know about Dalvin Cook's injury history, and I've told you before, he's the man. He's a superstar for sure. And to reiterate one more thing real quick about my guy, the guy I'm marrying, Mr. Consistency is what I want. 2017, 81 catches. 2018, 81 catches. 2019, 81 catches. And here we are in 2020, 68 catches through a total of 11 games played. So with that being said, obviously he's consistent in the passing game, and you know what you're going to get out of him every single year, every single season. He's never once failed us since he's came into the league, as a matter of fact. So that's impressive. So that's the kind of guy I want to be with. It's going to get me all juicy down below, if you know what I'm saying. And after that, let's go to the wide receivers for just a second here. All right, we have on my list, we have DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, and DeAndre Hopkins. Now, this is a fun little list to play with because we got a guy who is kind of the new guy, and we have the veteran, and then we have actually two veterans, but we have the guy that also switched teams, went to play for the other side over there in Arizona as Hopkins. So for me, their fantasy points right now sit at 215 for DK Metcalf, 199 for Stephon Diggs, and 197 for Hopkins. But you're not going to believe this. I'm actually going to marry DeAndre Hopkins because he has my consistent hands. I know what to expect from him as well. So I'm going to marry DeAndre Hopkins in this one, which means start, by the way, if I didn't reiterate for you guys. And then I'm going to F DK Metcalf because he is my big boomer bust guy, not to mention he could probably just manhandle me anyway. And then there's Stephon Diggs would be the guy I'd have to kill off because as good as he is, week in, week out with Josh Allen, I love that connection. Sorry, man, you're just not quite up to par of what I get from DK and DeAndre.
All right, so we're actually going to agree for once. I agree on your kill here. I'm going to kill Stephon Diggs, but it's not because I don't like Diggs. It's just like I don't like his quarterback as much as I like the other two guys' quarterbacks. So when we brought out this list, Mike, I'm not going to lie to you. I saw the first guy on the list, and I didn't even look at the other two. I said, I'm going to marry this guy before I even saw the other two
Love
guys.
at first sight then, huh?
And part of it, yeah, it's love at first sight. But part of it is, the guys on my team. So I know his production, and I'm going to marry DK Metcalf. And I don't care if you're talking about this week, this year, next year, or the next 5 years. We're going to marry DK Metcalf because he is a monster, and he's also the youngest of the three, so he's going to produce for a long time to come. Mm-hmm. We're going to bang DeAndre Hopkins because he is the hot new commodity in Arizona.
Yeah, I get that, and I like the idea of that as well as far as for years to come with DK Metcalf, because this is only year 2, which is crazy to think about as such a great athlete he is. So I'm a big fan of seeing where his career ends up as time goes on, and hopefully he can continue on this path because he's been phenomenal to watch. He's only, I think, right behind, he's behind Tyreek Hill right now in fantasy. Tyreek Hill has like 270 or 260 points right now in PPR after his big week last week. So Metcalf has been wonderful. Let's go down one more position group real quick. Let's go for the tight ends. As you guys know, I like them nice and tight. But so let's ignore Travis Kelce because everyone wants to marry Travis Kelce. Let's be honest here. Ladies and gentlemen, I know all of you listening right now, I would still love to marry Travis Kelce. He's my man. I love Travis Kelce. Great personality, tall, good looks. I mean, everything. It's like out of his babies for sure. And that's me coming as a straight man, by the way. So let's go with a little Darren Waller on my list. And then we have TJ Hawkinson. And then we have the boy, the party man, Rob Gronkowski. Now, you don't want to marry Rob Gronkowski, right? I don't think he would ever do that anyway. He doesn't want to put a ring on anything other than his thumb for the Super Bowls he has collected at this point, thanks to Tom Brady and himself doing some work. But with this list in particular, I like something a lot about Rob Gronkowski, is that his last few weeks, he has been putting up big numbers. He's finally showing himself to be the old Rob Gronkowski. He's consistently put up double digits. Since week 6, he has 18, 17, 14. He did a week with 2 against New Orleans, and then went back to 13, and then this previous week against Kansas City had 16 points and over 100 yards receiving. So Gronk might be back to looking like Gronk again, which is so cool to see, actually. So I'll put it this way. Gronk is my F because he's my hot and cold guy that I couldn't really know what to expect out of, and he's a party man, so let's have fun, right? So after that, we have Darren Waller would be my Mary, and then TJ Hawkinson, you're just not the part, my man. You are my kill.
That's crazy. So it's taken us this long in the show to actually agree on something. We did it the exact same way. I've got Darren Waller. I'm going to marry him because he's got a good offensive situation there with John Gruden, Derek Carr. We are going to kill TJ Hawkinson. And do I need any other reasons besides the fact that he plays for the Detroit Lions? No, I don't need any other reasons. And we are going to bang Rob Gronkowski because he's got TB12 throwing him the ball, and he's a party animal. So who doesn't want to bang Rob Gronkowski?
Exactly. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that little segment we just had of start, sit, cut. So that was an interesting topic we had thought of for you guys for fantasy-related reasons, at least. So after that, I'm thinking about like party mans, like Rob Gronkowski for a minute here. And you and I like to party a little bit. We're both over here sipping on a little something. I got a little. You got a Polar Eclipse over there. I got a little whiskey in my glass from Jesse James, and so I was kind of curious to what you thought about your like top 3 breweries in all of the United States. Like which one's like your favorite?
Yeah, if you're gonna say United States, you might as well just say the entire world.
Sure, the entire world.
We've never been, most of us have never been outside the country, and even if we did, they probably have terrible breweries anyway, so nobody cares.
Hey, the U.S. has great breweries.
Right, so for my number 1, I'm going to have to go with Prairie out of Oklahoma, and my favorite beer out of Prairie is the Prairie Bomb because it's 13% ABV. It's an imperial stout, and you can definitely taste the chocolate in that, so I've got my favorite beer from my favorite brewery. That's number 1. And number 2, I've got Snake River out of Wyoming. and most of you guys have never heard of that, but they've got a great stout. It's called the Zonker Stout. It's only 5.8%, but it just tastes amazing. And so I usually don't go for the lower ABV beers, but I love me some Snake River out of Wyoming. Number 3, I'm going to go with the Dogfish Head out of Delaware, the great state of Delaware. And the reason I like them is because they have my favorite brown ale of all time. It's called Palo Santo Marron. You've heard about this, Mike. It's 12% ABV, and it's easily my favorite brown ale of all
brown
time.
ale, which you don't see very often. Normally, brown ales are very low, roughly around 5% ABV. And so you found an Imperial brown ale from Dogfish Head.
It's amazing.
Which, by the way, they're well known for their IBVs. They have a 120-minute IPA that I believe comes out every year, but it's roughly around 18% ABV. So it's pretty high ABV as well. It's like drinking a very high-end wine, like a port almost. And so those are solid. The problem is the price point on those are just crazy. It's like $8 a bottle or something like that. So maybe I'm just complaining, but otherwise I enjoy Dogfish Head for sure. I guess for me, I go to, actually all 3 of mine are well known for some good stouts. Imperial stouts, I should say. My number 1 is the beer that got me into beer, god damn it. It is from Denver, Colorado, and that is the Great Divide Brewing Company. And they have a beer called the Hercules Double IPA. And if you guys don't know, I do a little of my own home brewing every once in a while, and I do enjoy that. But with the Hercules Double IPA, this was the beer I started drinking when I was 21, going to Old Chicago with my friends. And from then on, they had a deal over there. It was like $3 for a bottle. Problem is, this beer was 10% ABV. 10%. And I'm working at Target at the time, and here we are, I'm so here just oh wow, I can drink 10% ABV for $3 at a time. So I just started ordering that all the time. So maybe it's a nostalgic thing for me. But Great Divide, I've gone there multiple times now. Took my family there. I got my dad into beer and Imperial Stouts by going to Great Divide in Colorado. And they have multiple locations now and are very well known for their stouts. Get their Yeti. They have multiple different Yetis. It's a wonderful beer. My number 2, another place well known for their stouts, is Epic Brewing Company, also in Denver, Colorado. And they actually have another plant in Utah, but they actually found it to be easier to be able to sell their beer in Colorado and to be able to make higher ABV beer in Colorado as well. So they brought their plant from Utah originally, where they began, to Denver to where they could do more with their product. And so check out Epic Brewing Company and Great Divide. If any of you out there ever go to Denver, Colorado, check it out for sure. My number 3, you and I are in agreement on this one. This is the Prairie Artisan Ales and the Prairie Bomb. And I enjoy a lot of what they do. We've gone out there a few times to hang out, and it's just a great place. And the beer quality is phenomenal. So out here in KC, we have a good selection, I think, overall, and we're getting better, we're growing. But when you go to those bigger towns, even Denver is wonderful. I think places, even Portland probably has great breweries, and other towns in general, I think, are a little bit ahead of KC. We have Boulevard, as everyone knows, but I think in general the suburbs of KC have some work to do going forward, and give us more options and more creativity, which is what we all like in our life, right?
Absolutely, I want more creativity, but I just want to point one other thing out about Prairie. It's not just the beers that I love about that place. We've been there several times, and the food that they serve at their restaurant is just beyond anything that I've ever experienced at a brewery. I mean, it's supposed to be just a brewery, right?
Oh,
you go
yeah.
to the restaurant, it's it's like gourmet food that they serve in there, and so that's one of the reasons why I rank them so high, is because, yeah, they got the Prairie Bomb, the Christmas Bomb, all the other bombs, the birthday bomb, whatever bomb you want to shove up your ass, they've got it, but they also have amazing food.
One more honorable mention from my side here is Cerberus in Colorado Springs. It's a brewery that maybe not many people know about, but Cerberus is absolutely freaking phenomenal. The IPAs are wonderful there. The stouts are incredible there. I actually ended up buying a T-shirt while I was there at Cerberus a couple years ago, just out of support for that company. Those guys are incredible. So write that down. Cerberus Brewing Company in Colorado Springs. Go there, check it out. It is, without a doubt, I probably could have actually, you won't believe this or not, but I could have replaced Cerberus with swapped it with Prairie on my list because Cerberus is that good. It's just you haven't been there, and at some point, if you ever go to Colorado Springs, check it out for sure. It's freaking amazing. By the way, speaking of food, get the food there as well. So it's a great restaurant slash brewery, and I just wanted to kind of go over that with you for a minute. And after that, we have a couple more things to talk about, you guys. And one of that is that we just watched the Steelers play the Ravens tonight. And that game was, I guess, interesting. But we were missing Lamar Jackson for the Ravens side of things. RG3 was in the mix. RG3 was injured at some point. They ended up putting in Tracy McSorlin at quarterback for a while. And it was just in general not a pretty game for the Ravens. And it wasn't pretty for the Steelers either. And the Steelers are sitting at 11-0 right now. And so with 5 games left on the schedule, Jason, let me read these off for you real quick. So coming up for the Steelers have the Washington Redskins coming up. All right, whew. Wow, I said Redskins, didn't I? Ban me. I'm a fraud.
He's banned.
Ban me. The Washington football team. After that, they play the Buffalo Bills. And then they play the Bengals. After that, Colts, and then Browns to finish off. So what are the odds in your mind, Jason, that the Steelers go 16-0 with that schedule going forward? Because there's a couple tough games, especially with being Bills and Colts, I believe, and even Browns at Cleveland at the very end of the year. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are sitting with 1 loss, and obviously we want to have the bye week. We want to have the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, I believe. And so do the Steelers go 16-0 here?
Yeah, I don't think they can do it. And, I said a couple of weeks ago that they're definitely not going to do it. But that was before we knew that this Baltimore game was going to be a bunch of hogwash. I mean, you got RG3 starting at quarterback. And I'm not saying anything bad about RG3, but come on. Everybody wanted to see Lamar Jackson go up against the Steelers. This was supposed to be the Steelers' true test in the season, even though they've already beat him once. We understand that they beat Baltimore 28-24, but that was a close game. But we wanted to see the rematch of that. We didn't get our money's worth out of that because, Lamar Jackson was out. But I still believe that they are absolutely not going to go undefeated. I would say, if I had to take a pick right now, they are going to lose that Buffalo game on the road. I do believe they are going to beat the Washington football team. Yes. Glad I corrected you there, Mike.
Thank you very much.
So I've got them losing at Buffalo. I could also see them losing that Cleveland Browns game on the road. I can see them losing 2 games right now. But I have changed my opinion on them versus a few weeks back. Only in the fact that I just didn't think that they were a legitimate team. After they rattled off a few wins at the beginning of the season, I didn't see them as a legitimate threat to the Chiefs. But I've changed my mind on that. I do believe that they are the second best team in the AFC right now. And even though I do think they're going to lose 1 or 2 games, they're not going to go undefeated. I am taking them seriously now because, it starts with their defense. Number 1 in the NFL, only giving up 17.4 points per game. They've got all the weapons that you could ever want. They've got Juju, they've got Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Eric Ebron. I mean, when I look at that lineup of weapons, to me, that's the only team that beats those weapons is the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I'm starting to warm up to the Steelers. I was kind of hating on them earlier in the year, but I actually believe in what they're doing right now, and I do believe that we are going to see that in the AFC Championship. It is going to be the Chiefs versus the Steelers.
Yeah, and you're not even hating that hard because did you see Keyshawn Johnson's rankings for the top 7 teams in the NFL?
No, I haven't seen it.
If you haven't seen this, I'll read it off for you. For Keyshawn Johnson, his top 7 teams in the NFL, number 1 is the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, New Orleans Saints. Number 3, Green Bay Packers. Number 4, Seattle Seahawks. Number 5, the 8-3 Bills. Number 6, the 8-3 Titans. Number 7, the 5-6 Vikings. He left the Steelers off his entire list of the top 7 teams in the NFL. So Keyshawn Johnson's mind, they're a complete fraud.
Okay, so I haven't seen that list. I'm pretty sure he was probably drunk when he made up that list, or some other issues were going on. But as far as having Buffalo ahead of them, we're going to find out about that here in a couple of weeks.
And even Tennessee. I think the Titans at 8-3 are actually a very, very, very good team. But I mean, to put the Vikings at 5-6 over the Steelers, that's laying a mark right there. That's like you trying to like throw some punches for a minute there.
Yeah, and I know when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think I did actually have the Steelers at number 5 or number 6 in the power rankings. But the reason I changed my mind is just you can only play the teams that are in front of you, and it's like I understand we like to make fun of some of these teams and say that they're an NCAA Division I team, they're not really an NFL team, but it doesn't matter because when you go through an entire list of these teams, these are all NFL teams, and you can only play the teams who are in front of you. And as an NFL team, you got to take care of business. And, a lot of times we have a cupcake sitting there in front of you. You don't take them seriously, and you lose. And the Steelers have taken every one of these teams seriously, and that's why I am now starting to take them seriously. And it's always for me. I don't care what sport you're talking about. Defense wins championships, and they're sitting there at 17.4 points per game, number 1 defense in the NFL. I understand their competition is not the same as some of the other teams, but you have to give them credit. And for me, I'm putting them easily. I mean, you got to put them at number 2, right? In your power rankings, you got to put them at number 2.
I do just by default, because of the record. Because I'm trying to respect the record and ignore a little bit of the teams they've gone against in the past. Because obviously, week 1 they started off, it was Steelers versus Giants. Steelers won 26-16, and after that, obviously, it was the Steelers Broncos 26-21, and then Steelers Texans 28-21. And then after that, Eagles, Steelers, it was Steelers 38-29. So early on in the year, this team was giving up points for sure, and they were scraping by. So where you're finding that, what you're talking about as far as points given up on a defensive end, is when things changed, when they played the Browns, where Baker Mayfield shit the bed, and they won 38-7 at that point. And then they've won the last few games. Bengals scored 10 points, Jaguars scored 3 points, Ravens just scored 14. On the Steelers. And the Steelers do have a good defense, very athletic defense, very versatile. Guys like TJ Watt are just freaking incredible. And so they do have a very, very wide range of different guys on that defense that are good players. And so that is something to look for and watch for. But here's the thing. Steelers-Titans, remember this game? It was October 25th. And this was a game that came down, I think it ended up going to overtime in that game. And it came down to the very end. It was a game they could have very much easily lost. And I think when the Titans eventually meet the Steelers again in the playoffs, and I think they will, unless the Chiefs end up playing one of the teams, then we're going to see a repeat of that same game. And they had a hard time controlling Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry is a great running back, as we know. He controls a lot of the game, a lot of the things the Titans do. And it was an interesting ending to that game. If any of you remember out there, final score was Steelers 27-24 Titans. So it's something to see down the road, and I think the Titans give them a fair shot at least. And so Keyshawn's list is very interesting. But he's also being honest about his feelings, about what he thinks. But do I put the Vikings at 7 at 5-6 over the Steelers? No, I can't do that. Absolutely not. That's ridiculous. But Bills, Titans, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Chiefs, put them in a one-on-one matchup. I could see any of those other 6 teams beating the Steelers.
Yeah, and so I'm with you. I definitely want to see that rematch with the Titans. But I want to go back to like my philosophy here. And when you see a team like the Steelers with a crappy schedule, when you see them play these teams early in the year, maybe the first 5 or 6 games, you could say, oh, that's a crappy schedule. And that's exactly what I did. I said, they're not battle tested. They're playing hot garbage teams. But when you get to week 13, that's when you have to give these guys credit. And so I would love to see them, play the Titans again. I definitely think the Titans could give them a run for their money, but guys, the Steelers are for real, and I think it's time that we all take them seriously. There's no way anybody in their right mind, and that's why I don't think Keyshawn was in his right mind, is going to put the Vikings ahead of the Steelers in the power rankings. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I forgot to point that out to you. I was a little surprised. You didn't see that one coming, did you, Jason?
I did not see it coming, but I appreciate the fruitfulness of thought that you have.
Absolutely, as we all do at times. So let's jump on over, guys, to our pick'ems for the week. We always save this for the end because it is probably not my favorite segment, but then again, I'm here to win this freaking thing. I'm here to have the most correct picks out of the three of us week in, week out. So as a competitive person, we got to kick it all off going on. Wow, we are off Thursday nights. Did you know that, Jason?
I did know that.
Wow, so no more Thursday night games for a bit at least, or throughout the rest of the year, I suppose. And so with that said, at noon Central Time, we have the New Orleans Saints going to the Atlanta Falcons with Taysom Hill. Give me the Atlanta Falcons to win that game.
Oh, that's an amazing pick, Mike. You're going with the Falcons. Oh, I'm going to go with the Saints at -3. They're going to cover that. And the reason I picked that is because the Saints defense looks great in Taysom Hill's last 2 starts. So I got the Saints. They might only win it by 5 or 6 points, but they're definitely going to cover that spread.
All right, well, you're going to finally stop picking Detroit every week because I'm getting tired of it, because this is the Detroit Lions against the Chicago Bears, and you pick the Lions all the damn time. And I don't understand why you do. It doesn't work out for you anytime you ever do. You probably did it again, so I'm going to go with the Bears.
Yeah, you know what? There's interesting stats on this game. So the Chicago Bears have lost 5 games in a row, but the Detroit Lions have lost 5 in a row to the Bears. And so I'm going to go with Chicago on this one. I think it's 2 weeks in a row that I'm picking against the Detroit Lions. However, if you guys are betting this game, Chicago is -5.5. There's no way in hell they're going to cover that. So if you're going to bet, I would go with Detroit, but Chicago is definitely going to win the game.
Finally going with Chicago over Detroit there. Okay. Now, this is going to be a great game coming up right here. We have the Cleveland Browns at the Tennessee Titans. The battle of the 2 top, in my opinion, best running teams in the NFL. And you have a battle of Derrick Henry versus guys like, obviously, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And so this is going to be a great game against 2 teams in the AFC. And this is tough. This is not an easy pick whatsoever. But I'm going to go with the one that has the more stable quarterback at the helm. So in that case, I believe in Ryan Tannehill more than I believe in anything else the Browns have to offer on that end. And so I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans to beat the Cleveland Browns. But both these guys on the ground should be a fun show to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. I do trust Ryan Tannehill a little bit more in this game. Tennessee's -5. This is a potential playoff matchup, and I just don't trust the Browns in this game. I'll go with Tennessee.
All right, we're on the same page, at least those last couple ones there. And then after that, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Miami Dolphins. And this one in particular, I like the Dolphins' defense to make some noise, so I'm going Dolphins on this one.
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Dolphins. They are second in the NFL in scoring defense at 18.6 points per game. And who knows? I don't even know who the Cincinnati quarterback is, and nor do I care.
It doesn't matter at this point.
So I'm going with the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm glad you were there for the stats for me to give me some good input on why I'm making my decisions as well, Jason. After that, we have Keyshawn Johnson's number 7 team in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings, hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so with that, come on, this is easy. Give me that Dalvin Cook. Give me that boy that I'm going to F. And go with Dalvin Cook and the Vikings for sure.
Oh, yeah, you got Dalvin Cook going up against the 29th ranked rush defense. Dalvin Cook is going to torch them.
All right, then we have, oh my God, I got to talk about this game. I'm getting sick right now. Derek Carr, you piece of crap. You got me -7 points in my game, which made me lose the game. Raiders and Jets. I hope the Raiders lose because they deserve to lose this game. So with that said, God, the Jets are so bad. They're so bad. I can't pick anyone to lose to the Jets. So with that said, I assume the Raiders find a way to put up 23 points. The Jets put up maybe 13, and that's the score. 23-13. Raiders over Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys my easy money bet of the week, and I'm actually going to give you two of them because I've got a couple of easy money bets this week. So if you're going to bet on this game, Las Vegas is -7.5 against the Jets. And what do we always say about the Jets? If you're having a tough time in life, you're going to have a get-right moment against the Jets. And so I expect Derek Carr to bounce back in this game. They're going to cover that 7.5 points. Give me the Raiders.
And we have a good AFC South matchup with the Indianapolis Colts going to the Houston Texans. This actually should be good. I think Watson's really come along strong towards the back end of the year this year. And so I hope that continues on for him and his sake of dealing with the turmoil of that team because it's not a consistent team. I think Will Fuller actually, did he test positive for COVID? Or he might be missing this game, something along those lines.
It could have been the seasonal flu.
It could have been the seasonal flu.
Do we know the difference
There's a chance.
at this point?
No, it's all blends in the same. Although I've heard if you wear a mask, then you're fine. So with that said, I'm going to go with the Colts because I still do believe in their defense and I believe in Rivers to win a little over Watson in this one. It's going to be close though.
All right, you like the Colts. I'm going to go with Houston here. This is a spoiler alert. Deshaun Watson, 15 touchdowns and 0 picks in the last 6 games. And I don't expect that to end here. So I'm going to go with the Texans in this game.
All right, after that, we have a really fun game starting off the 3:05 p.m. time slot. And that is the Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Both teams have a lot of talent on their offenses. So that's what's going to make this fun about this in a passing way. I just really enjoy Arizona, and the Rams are not consistent for me whatsoever. So in this case, give me Kyler Murray running around from Aaron Donald all night long and finding a way to escape that pressure from the inside. So give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, what do we always say about these games, guys? We do not trust Jared Goff because he's playing like hot garbage right now. So Arizona, they're favored by 1 point. I do believe Arizona is going to win this game.
Ready to go quick? Let's go. Giants, Seahawks.
I'm going to go with my second easy money bet of the week. If you guys want to make a bet out there, Seattle is -9. They will easily cover that 9 points because you're pretty sure you're going to have Colt McCoy getting the start here. He's taking all the first team reps this week. So if you got Colt McCoy out there, why not? Let's make a big bet on the Seahawks.
How is Colt McCoy still in the NFL? That's what I want to know. That's pretty insane to think about, as a matter of fact. After that, we have the Eagles and the Packers at Green Bay. Easy one again for me. Giving the Packers all day on that.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Packers. Not sure they're going to cover. Green Bay's defense is mediocre right now, so I could see Philly keeping it close, but Aaron Rodgers is going to get the job done here. Give me the Packers.
After that, we got a tough one, actually, against two teams that are trying to figure themselves out. We got the Patriots at the Los Angeles Chargers. This is going to be a fun game, I think, because the Chargers actually are better than the record shows. And the Patriots are a team led by a good coach that can find ways to win. So, with that said, I trust the Chargers' talent, and I trust Justin Herbert to get the job done in this case. And Bill Belichick might pull some things, out of the hat. You never know with him. He's a good coach, and he's been around for a long time, much longer than Anthony Lynn. And so with that said, give me the Chargers, but I'm not confident in my pick.
He's not confident because everybody knows that Bill Belichick is going to pull some shenanigans out there. So did I tell you I was only going to give you 2 easy money bets for the week? I'm actually going to give you 3. And this is number 3. This is my third easy money bet of the week. I am picking the New England Patriots. The Los Angeles Chargers have allowed 27 or more points in 8 consecutive games. That does not spell victory for me. LA Chargers are -1. It's not going to happen. Give me the Patriots.
All right, give me a score prediction for the Chiefs. Jason, Chiefs, Broncos.
Ooh. It's a risky bet to cover, as I've said. So Chiefs are minus 14. I'm going to go 27-20 Chiefs. I'm going to go 7-point game.
Okay, I'm going Chiefs 31, Broncos 14. So I'm picking Chiefs to win by 17 on that one. I think it's going to be another easy victory like it was the first time around when the Chiefs put up 43 on them.
So you do have them covering the spread?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
On this one. I think the Broncos just can't match up with the Chiefs right now. It's just not going to happen, especially with things that have gone on in the last week for the Broncos. I think they're just in turmoil right now, and they're done with their season. They're going through the motions right now and trying to get through the rest of the year, I think.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that happening. I'm just saying, like, this is a very risky bet if you're going to bet on the Chiefs to cover that 14 points.
Cover the 14. Well, I wouldn't suggest betting on it, but my pick.
You don't want to bet on that game.
My
That's
pick
my
for the
whole
score suggests that you should do that, but don't actually do that. After that, we have the Monday night game. We have some interesting things coming up because we obviously have the Tuesday game as well, which is going to be kind of weird. We have the Washington football team going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers just got a good victory here today, here Wednesday night. Obviously, listen to us Thursday morning, as you should always. And Steelers going to win this game easily.
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh in this game. I don't believe they're going to cover the 10-point spread just because of that quick turnaround. And yeah, we got a Monday
doubleheader,
2:00 game. That's crazy.
Yeah, then we have Buffalo and San Fran. Give me Buffalo because I'm a big fan of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Ooh, you got Buffalo. I've got the Niners here. They got Raheem Mostert and Deebo Samuel coming back. And I just like that 49ers defense to pester Josh Allen a little bit. We're going with the Niners in this game.
All right, guys, one more game here on Tuesday, December the 8th coming up. The Dallas Cowboys at the Baltimore Ravens. Are the Ravens still in the mix? I mean, are they still going to be potentially in the playoff mix for the AFC at this point? Because it's going to be tough. And I think as long as they got Lamar Jackson coming back to return against the Dallas Cowboys, that's an easy win for the Ravens.
Yeah, and right now there's no line on this game, but I do have the Ravens winning this game by about 10 points. Give me the Ravens.
Alrighty, that wraps us up with the week. Oh my goodness. Anything else? Any final thoughts you want to say about the week we had, the week we have going forward, Christmas, anything else about, whatever you got in mind?
No, I just want to give you guys, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Twitter because we only mentioned a few breweries that we like across the country. So if you guys have any better thoughts or better breweries that you like, we want to hear your thoughts on that. So send us a shout on that.
Absolutely. Tell us where you're from or what state you're from and which brewery to check out because we love to check out all different kinds of craft breweries. And as I mentioned before, for you guys that have not been to Colorado Springs, out to Cerberus, that is my underrated brewery of the country that I know of at least. Just phenomenal, everything about it, just everything, wonderful atmosphere, great beer, really great food, all that good stuff. So hopefully we can get Tanner Dawson back over here again to the studios starting sometime next week, and we can go from there. I know he's been doing some solo work, like I said, and we're trying to get it all figured out so that way we can all meet up and put this whole thing together with the full Buffoon clan as we talk about. And from there, Jason, I gotta say one thing. With that said, I will see you on the next one.
All right, thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you on the next one.